welcome to NAPOD, where we provide NA speaker meetings and workshops in a podcast. We are an ad-free podcast, and if you enjoy listening, please help us to be self-supporting by visiting napod.xyz, look for the donate link, and drop $1 or $2 in the virtual basket. If you're also in AA or have friends that are, please tell them about our other podcast, Sobercast. Sobercast features AA speakers and workshops in the same format as NAPOD. We upload a new speaker every day, and it's easy to subscribe by searching for Sobercast, that's 2 words, on any podcast player app, or go to Sobercast.com. Enjoy the podcast, and thanks for listening.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Regardless of Age workshop of WCNA 31. My name is Natalie and I'm an addict. Okay. Right. Firstly, can we please open this moment this meeting with a moment of silence, followed by the serenity prayer for the addict that still suffers. Moment of silence for the addict that still suffers. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Okay. Firstly, I would actually like to ask a friend of mine, Jono, to come up here and read what is the Narcotics Anonymous program.
My name's John and I'm an addict. And this is the Narcotics Anonymous program. And I'm from San Diego, California. What is the Narcotics Anonymous program? NA is a non-profit fellowship or society of men and women whom drugs have become a major problem. We are recovering addicts who meet regularly to help each other stay clean. This is a program of complete abstinence from all drugs. There's only one requirement for membership, the desire to stop using. We suggest that you keep an open mind and give yourself a break. Our program is a set of principles written so simply that we can follow them in our daily lives. The most important thing about them is that they work. There are no strings attached to NA. We are not affiliated with any other organisations. We have no initiation fees, dues, no pledges to sign, no promises to make to anyone. We are not connected with any political, religious or law enforcement groups and are under no surveillance at any time. Anyone may join us regardless of age, race, sexual identity, creed, religion or lack of religion. We are not interested in what or how much you use or who your connections were, what you have done in the past, how much or how little you have, but only in what you want to do about your problem and how we can help. The newcomer is the most important person at any meeting because we can only keep what we have by giving it away. We have learned from our group experience that those who keep coming to our meetings regularly stay clean. Thanks, mate.
Secondly, I'd like to invite another friend of mine. Just thought you might want to hear a true Australian accent. This man also turns 20 tomorrow. That's 20 in Australia, and that's 20 today in Hawaii. Anyway, he's a good friend of mine. His name's Tim. Would you like to read this? True Australian accent.
Hey, my name's Tim, I'm an addict. I've got my glasses. Why are we here? Before coming to the fellowship of NA, we could not manage our own lives. We could not live and enjoy, life as other people do. We had to have something different, and we thought we had found it in drugs. We placed their use ahead of the welfare of our families, our wives, husbands, and our children. We had to have drugs at all costs. We did many people great harm, but most of all, we harmed ourselves. Through our inability to accept personal responsibilities, we were actually creating our own problems. We seemed to be incapable of facing life on its own terms. Most of us realised that in our addiction we were slowly committing suicide, but addiction is such a cunning enemy of life that we had lost the power to do anything about it. Many of us ended up in jail or sought help through medicine, religion and psychiatry. None of these methods was sufficient for us. Our disease always resurfaced or continued to progress until in desperation we sought help through each other in Narcotics Anonymous. After coming to NA, we realised we were sick people. We suffered from a disease from which there was no known cure. It can, however, be arrested at some point, and recovery is then possible.
Thank you. I would now like to introduce our first speaker. His name's Dave G. and he's from Hawaii.
All right. I'm a recovering addict. My name is Dave. And hopefully we can get this microphone thing going here. All right. I am so grateful for the opportunity to share at this convention. I've been walking around here the last couple of days, and I am just at such a loss with who to talk to. So I just talk to the people I know, even though there's thousands of people around me from all over the world, and I'm just I'll just talk to people that I already know, and I was really thinking about this whole opportunity to share here today, and I just realized this is a real gift for me because I'll at least be able to, put myself out there with the group of people that have come to this workshop, and hopefully, whatever, some of you guys can come up to me or whatever at some point or whatever, and we can talk, and get past that thing in my head that really just separates me from you guys, I'm here, I guess, to talk. I've thought about this since the day that they called me and asked me to share, a couple months ago. Just every time, just the moment and the people, yeah, hello, and, I'm actually this is really not a bad crowd. I was this is nothing, but I've just prayed and prayed and prayed, man, that my heart can come through here. This microphone is really just not my height, and it's not staying. Can I take it out and walk around? Hard. Okay. Yeah, this might work a little better. So I'm from Hawaii, and I got clean here in Hawaii. I moved here actually when I was 9 years old. Most people, even there's a young woman in the audience who once, when she first moved here and she met me, she goes, wow, you've been here for I guess, I was 20 at the time. She's you've been here for 12 years and you're still that white, And I was actually horribly offended at the time. I grew up very sensitive about the skin color thing out here because hassled about it a lot as a kid. And my friend was dude, Dave, don't worry, she's checking you out, man. It's cool. And I was but sometimes I kept thinking everybody's going to be disappointed I'm just some white guy, and talking. But anyway, so I got clean, and I got clean when I was 19, and I know that's not the youngest, but in Narcotics Anonymous out here when I got clean, there was really only one other young guy, and he was from New Jersey, and he had got clean when he was about 17. And we were pretty much it. We went to NA, and there was actually, there was a lot of other people going to 12-step fellowships at the time, but a lot of them chose to go to Alcoholics Anonymous, and I pretty much just, decided that NA kind of spoke to me. It talked to my heart and stuff. And, I will tell you guys this story. When I was 18 was when I first began to think, well, maybe I have a problem with drugs, and so I had a therapist at the time, and I was kind of all right, when I sat down with him, oh, dude, hang on. Stop. Okay, I'm sorry. I had to set my timer here so I don't blow out the time thing. I was 18, I started seeing this therapist. I'm just like, dude, I think I got a problem with drugs. He's like, well, why don't you try and get clean? So I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. So I went, I got stoned that night, and I was like, I'm going to get clean from here on, I'm going to be clean. And he was, he turned out he had like 12 years or something in recovery, and so I'd go and talk to him once a week, and he pretty much like 12 steps me, like we would sit down, and we'd do like some vision stuff, like, what do you see blocking your life, and this and that. But he would talk to me a lot about like addiction, recovery, and like the grief process and stuff like that we go through when we get clean. But, so he was like, dude, go to these meetings. He gave me some people some phone numbers. I went to a meeting, and it's really, like, my whole life's been really cosmic in some ways, just like the coincidences. Like, the man who is my sponsor today, I used to use with his son, and the guy who was my sponsor for like 5 years, I used to go to the house where he lived when I was loaded because I was using with the other guy's son. And so, it's just always been, my life just kind of, the same people have kind of always been floating around it. And so, I walked past this. There's two meetings. There's a meeting of NA and a meeting of AA, and I was with a couple other people. And I walked past the NA meeting, and I see the man who's my sponsor today in there. And I go, not going in there, because I don't want to see him, and I don't want to deal with this, So we went to the other meeting, and we sat there, and I identified or whatever, just because I had a few days or something, and I didn't really end up ever going to a meeting again after that. Because I kind of was just like, screw meetings. And the guy that talked at that meeting was like just getting on meds, and he was really depressed. And I was like, dude, I'm 18, let's have fun, I'm too young to do this. But when I stayed clean like 40 days or something, and when I got loaded again, it was not fun anymore. And it was really apparent to me that I wasn't getting loaded for the fun of it anymore, that I couldn't stay clean, and just really a lot of stuff actually came up at that moment. When I got loaded, I didn't get clean again, though, for about another year and a half, and so I spent like a year and a half trying to manage my addiction, and nothing ever worked. I progressively got more and more introverted, and was just totally unable to connect with people, and that's really, when I think about just some of the misery of my active addiction, and just some of the misery of addiction in general, it's just, I used to just be so concerned with what you thought about what I was going to say that I couldn't say anything, and especially, and then, to add on to that, I was constantly like, judging people. Are you better than me? Are you worse than me? If I felt like I was better than you, then, of course I could talk and I would be all, hey, I've got a personality, but I didn't actually put myself there very often, and I met a lot of people that I really thought were, a lot better than me, and so it really just, like the separation between myself and other people, and the separation between myself and myself was just massive, during my last year of using, and it was miserable, because there's a huge part of me that really loves people. I love to connect with people, and to not be able to do that at all was just miserable, and I had all the usual stuff, I was using, so of course, whatever, the usual stuff that comes with that, but, so anyway, so I got clean when I was 19, I came back, I was like, alright, I'm going to NA. And I'm going to do this NA thing, and to be honest with you guys, like, I was, if you want to like classify the drugs I used or whatever, I was like a pothead, I used a lot of other stuff, but essentially I always went back to smoking pot, and when I go to NA meetings, though, there wasn't, I don't know, it just didn't matter, it didn't matter that I used different drugs than people, because when people would talk in NA, it would seem like they knew what was going on inside me. It actually, when I first went to a couple of meetings, I thought some guy knew what I was thinking about and was talking about it in order to get me to talk about it. you know, and that kind of, you know, I was like, this freaking bastard, man, you know, and really hated that guy for a very short period of time. Then he turned out to be a pretty good friend of mine. Yeah, you know, it was a miserable trip in some ways, and at the same time, you know, coming to NA was just such a relief for me. And so, you know, this whole getting clean at a fairly young age, you know, like, I don't know, man, you know, all I can say is that I learned a lot of things about how to stick around here, how to identify, regardless of the differences that I see, you know, and one thing I'll say, and this has worked for me a billion times, is sometimes when I can't relate to everybody, when I can't sit down and go, yeah, that's, you know, I just remember that people can relate to me, you know, and I know that because people come up to me, they hug me, and they tell me, you know, they tell me that, hey, I can relate, you know, and I hang on to that sometimes, you know, I really do, you know, to help me feel like I belong here, you know, and I mean, I don't really, it's not all the time anymore, but for a while that was really like a big thing, you know. Like I didn't have a lot of the long time of using or a lot of the horror and stuff. I had all the horror inside me, you know, and in some ways actually being clean 8.5 years now, sometimes now I think I'm crazier than some of the people that I meet, because I'm like, wow, dude, recovery, dude, I'm like, you don't think like that. You're not quite, you know, I am Captain Obsession. You know, my mind locks onto stuff and we're on, you know, and you know, it's just, it's pretty crazy, you know, like, I mean, I was thinking today I went and I bought this watch, because I was like, I need a watch so I can time myself, and you know, also too, because I have like horrible anxiety, so like, you know, knowing the time is just such a relief, you know, it's like, oh, I actually have half an hour, you know, so like, you know, the last time that I went to buy a watch, man, I bought 3, and I didn't really wear any of them, you know. I mean, that's just, you know, it's a little smattering of like what happens when I tap into something. Now, you know, I really identify with the concept of a disease of addiction, you know, and because, you know, when I got clean and my whole experience, like when I look back at my whole life, like I've had obsessive compulsive behaviors that led to spiritual, emotional, psychological decay pretty much all my life, you know, and I've had lots of different, you know, things that I've locked onto, and gratefully I can say actually in recovery that I've also been able to do some of the other work there, you know what I mean, and not just, you know, I mean, I don't know, man, like to me it was just like if I just stopped using drugs, I was going to be miserable, you know, like I needed the steps and I needed loads of help, you know, because I got a mind that just attacks me. You know, this just tells me I'm worthless, I'm, you know, hopeless, I'm you know, just all the shame that comes with this disease that at least that I believe I have, and that I believe I hear other people have, you know, and so you know, yeah, man. I mean, it's just like I need this program, and you know, it's just been not to kind of just dawn on me. I'm like, okay, the age thing, you know. I don't even know, you know, I don't even know what to say actually other than like, there's a principle in Narcotics Anonymous called anonymity, you know what I mean, and it's about facelessness in the meetings, you know, and it's about we are not our jobs, we are not anything that we are out of the meeting, you know, and it's like I wasn't some 19-year-old kid in a lot of the meetings, you know, I was just an addict sitting there, and, you know, it's like I honestly can say I believe so much in what is not said in these meetings. You know, when I sit in the meetings, and I mean, it's like, you know, if I really think about everything that was said, I could be like, wow, that sucked, you know. but I connect, you know what I mean, and it touches my heart, and I feel connected to people, and I feel like whatever. I almost always feel a sense of hope when I walk out of a Narcotics Anonymous meeting, you know, and you know, it's just been such a gift, man. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to be able to like be clean and to be able to do this thing, you know, and the more I've learned about addiction, the more like I believe that, you know, it's like getting clean, is just the beginning of like really dealing with this disease, and it's just like, to me, I need all the time I can get. I'm like, thank God I got clean when I was 19, dude. I'm going to need years, or decades, to really, and not to say that I've gotten some wonderful freedom in Narcotics Anonymous through working these steps, it's been a real gift, but, whatever, man, it's also just been a real challenge, I've actually probably only got about 5 minutes here. Yeah, I got 10 minutes. You give me, oh wow, thanks. Oh shoot. There was one thing I was going to talk about. I actually brought a letter, but I won't read it. I'm just going to talk about it a little bit. Like when I got clean, there was the other guy that came to NA. His name, I'll just, his first name. His name was Jesse. He was from New Jersey, and I picked up his accent, if you can't tell, a little bit. I was such a powerful mimic when I got clean. I still am a powerful mimic. It's like. I used to always think when I was using, I was just like, okay, if I could just get the right, image going, everybody would think I was okay, and everything would be cool, man. So I always hopped around different, I was like a punk, and then I was like into, hip-hop and breaking, just all this stuff, and then I met Jesse, who was from New Jersey, and he was Mr., he was crazy and all this stuff, and he had this accent, and so I picked it up, kind of, and he never said a damn thing, even that, he was just always there, and he always loved me, man, anyway, so he was just this monumental person in my early recovery, in a lot of ways, because he showed me, he gave me a sense of hope, he had, he was very extroverted, he was very, out there all over the place, and I was like, wow, I know that's inside me, but it's not here now, I was so just lost in myself and in the self-centeredness of this thing, and I kind of just hung around him and I picked up his stuff, but part of the reason I want to talk about him is just because Jesse killed himself a few months ago, and whatever, man, it's just like, all these years, actually, the last few years of recovery, I've really struggled with suicide and stuff, and I just realized, it's like I get to be up here and I get to carry this message. You know what I mean? And he doesn't. So, part of me's doing this for both of us, because this thing kills us, This thing totally kills us. So, but, yeah. Once I start crying, I'm pretty much done. I can't really keep going, so thanks for letting me share.
Thank you very much, Dave. Now I'd like to introduce our second speaker, Miss Sue H. from Australia.
Hi everyone, my name's Sue. I'm an addict, and when they rang up and asked me and said it was anyone can get clean regardless of age, I just had to laugh, really. I know which end of the spectrum I was at. So I'll just sort of share a bit of my story because, I decided the best way to not freak myself out was just not to worry about it, not to think about it, just come here, share my story. And as a friend of mine and I talked about this morning, be confident that in an hour's time, no one will remember. So, I sort of grew up in a, sort of alcoholic family, and it was a really angry place, and I guess, the way I dealt with it was to try and make myself a small target and you know, I was a pretty depressed sort of kid, you know, and then, you know, I hit, you know, alcohol and drugs, and they probably saved my life, you know, really. Then, they nearly killed me later, but they probably saved my life then because, you know, I was heading down a really desperate sort of path, and, well, I still ended up on a desperate path, but at least I was alive, you know, and, you know, I just took to everything like it was my second nature, you know. I started out drinking really heavily. I was a really good drinker, you know, really. And, like, pubs were like my sort of home away from home because my family was so sort of fucked up. You know, like I was just really at home, life of the party, you know, I loved it. I could drive everyone home afterwards, you know, if they gave me the car, you know, like, and, you know, then sort of just each drug came along and I got right into it, and I did a lot of my using in the 70s, and, you know, we were a pretty rebellious sort of crew. And we thought it was the answer, you know. I really believed that. I put a lot of effort into thinking it was the answer. And thinking everything else was just a lot of, you know, I'm really going to try with the profanity thing, but, you know, I am Australian, you know. You know, like, it just sort of, now I've forgotten where I was. You know, each bit sort of filled in a bit of my life for me, you know, and I just thought it was a lot of crap propaganda, you know, marijuana, killer drug, ho ho, said I, you know, and, you know, as each drug came my way, you know, I didn't pause for a second, you know, although, you know, the year before I might have been said, you know, I'll never do that heroin, you know. As soon as it was offered to me, I was there. And I was off and running, you know. And, you know, then I thought I'd really got home. You know, I thought, this is it. And the thing is, it never lasts, you know. That bit of it never lasts. Like, if it was like it was then, now, I'd probably still be doing it. But it doesn't last, you know, and I just sort of ended up, my life just got smaller and smaller and smaller, you know. I was on long-term methadone programs for a couple of centuries, you know, like, it just, you know, it wasn't fun, and you know, like at the end, I sort of saw myself as this sort of like old soldier type of figure on the battlefield of life, you know, just trying to get through life using as many drugs as I could, you know. And, you know, I saw myself as a heroin addict, but like I was any port in a storm sort of addict myself, really. I'd do anything, you know, anything to make me feel different, you know. And I just had to feel different to what I was, you know. I just couldn't stand it. So I got to say, you know, like, the methadone thing was supposed to give me some out. It never did. I never stopped using. I never stopped for anything. And what happened for me, I sort of ended up, I was living in a house, and the only reason I wasn't destitute was, you know, my parents had died and left me this house, and left it so that I couldn't actually sell it till I was 50. Today I'm really grateful about that. At the time, you know, like, no, even at the time I knew that this would be sort of, you know, this would keep me from the gutter, and, you know, it was the only difference because, you know, I don't know about any of you guys, but because I was on methadone so long, I wasn't real clean, you know, because your skin just crawls in the shower. It's just hideous. And And, I was wearing a collection of my dead parents' clothing, which, today might look sort of wild and groovy. It just looked like a derelict then, and, I just sort of thought that was going to be it, and I guess a friend of mine who I'm still really friendly with today and who's still clean today started taking me to meetings. And I didn't go because I wanted to get clean. I went because there was nothing happening in my life. They gave me chocolate biscuits and cups of tea, and they were nice to me, and I just sort of thought, oh, well, this is it, I'm never ever going to be able to get any time clean up because, I've been taking sleeping pills since I was 12, and I thought, you can't expect me not to sleep for the rest of my life, Oh, yes, they did. Anyway, I just sort of, I go along and eat the chocolate biscuits and, now my own home group, I always make sure we have lots of chocolate biscuits because whatever gets you in there, whatever gets your bum on the seat is okay as far as I'm concerned, And I sort of ended up getting talked into going into a detox unit, and it was coming up to Christmas, and I thought, perfect, I don't know about your Christmases, but mine had been really hideous for such a long time. I never managed to get the right amount of dope. If I got it, I used it the night before. The dealer was at his mother's place having Christmas dinner. I'd end up at my parents' place and I'd be pilled out, I'd be drinking, oh God, there'd be a family fight, And I thought, Christmas in detox, that sounds good, So, I went in there and I didn't actually honestly even think about getting clean, really. I just sort of went along to please people, Oh yeah, righto, if you think, they'll feed me, and, they put me in this part of the detox that was called a goldfish bowl because because of my drug using, they were afraid I'd sort of fit and die if I went outside. So, they kept a really close eye on me and I was there for a few weeks and I didn't stay clean from that detox. I heard what I needed to hear, which was that, I had no understanding of addiction even though I'd used drugs for a really long time, and I definitely didn't get clean in my teens or my 20s or my 30s, what I heard was, it was the sort of slippery dip of life, you pick up, you start off, you're depressed, you're isolated, that was me, you pick up, wow, party time. And then the drugs stop working and you end up worse than you were in the beginning. And that was so me that something in me sort of died, and just went, oh, God, no. I'm going to have to sort of... And I wandered off from that detox and I probably would have stayed clean, but I didn't know how, And every time I ended up bumping into somebody, I ended up with a needle in my arm. So I went out again to another detox and, took this enormous leap of faith and went into something called a halfway house. Now, I was always a smart ass and joker, and I'd made lots of jokes about, halfway house. Is that halfway in or halfway out? And, just that sort of stuff. And however, it gave me a safe place to be while I was as mad as a snake and, just go to meetings. And that has been so important for me, a lot of my recovery has been about just fronting up and going to meetings, no matter what my head says. And it can say anything, let me tell you, on any given day, it can tell me a whole lot of shit, and I just front up and go to meetings, and try and hang in there, and think to myself that any decision I make, because I do like to clear the decks occasionally, and any decision I make that involves me getting rid of people out of my life, that maybe I actually need to think about a bit before I do it, Anyway, I got clean. I was no spring chicken. I wasn't very well, and I wasn't very well on any level, let's face it. But, physically, my life's been a bit difficult since I've been clean. I still, no matter what, wouldn't have swapped it for anything, I wouldn't swap being clean for anything, even though it's had its moments, I've had to go through quite a few things. I've had a few operations. I got medically retired from my job about 3 or 4 years ago. And, my sort of thing about, early recovery was like, I just got right into work because I found I could do it, and it made it easy, easy to sort of avoid myself and try and do the other people thing, I just sort of work and I'd sort of tell myself, I need to do this, work is good, I've never sort of fronted up and sort of done stuff in any way that was acceptable for my entire life, and so I just became this sort of machine, and that really sort of didn't do my health any good. And eventually, I got medically retired about 3 or 4 years ago, and since then it's been a really up and down sort of road. Like at first that was really difficult. Like I was really depressed, and I sort of just had to fight my way back from that and sort of, really try and work on my health and do all that sort of stuff, and I'm not a natural at that sort of stuff. I didn't get clean and have a honeymoon, I got clean and had what they used to talk about the economy, the dead cat bounce, like I was sort of, God, I was stuffed, and like I just had to sort of try and gradually put myself back together, and now I'm, then I'd sort of been medically retired, and it wasn't something I wanted to do, but it's something I knew I had to do, and so I started trying to build up again after that, and that was sort of difficult, and I just started to, come good, feeling yes, and I got really sick again, and I ended up going on this sort of course of treatment from the liver, and it's, I'm really glad I did it. It didn't work for me, but I'm really glad I did it because I know I've done everything. I've done it to the best of my ability. I'm not going to be sitting around thinking, gee, I could have had a better life if I'd done that. I know what I've got is what I've got to run with, and that's that. And but it was a really, really weird time. It does really weird things to your head, the drugs I was on, and it really affects your relationship to other people. It's sort of like you're talking down a tunnel to them, and if, they're not on your side, they're out of your life, like you just sort of go. It was a time in which I guess I didn't feel very supported by a lot of the friends I'd made over the years in recovery because they were all too busy. You know, that's just the way it was. But fortunately, I'd hung in, and I've done H&I meetings at a rehab for people on long-term methadone programs, and they take them to meetings and bring them down and get them clean, you know. And, you know, they're my sort of people, you know. I just sort of really love them, you know, and there's one guy there who just told us such a magic story, which is sort of how he, if he ever had to run for a bus or anything, he'd stuff cotton wool in the top of all of his pill bottles so he wouldn't rattle when he ran. I love that sort of story, you know, it's so me. And, you know, and those guys, most of whom had been clean by that stage, came round and sort of helped me do stuff at home. And, you know, just came up to me at meetings and said, how are you, and all that, and sort of didn't sort of try and go, oh, she's off, we better, you know, stay away, you know. And I just sort of needed meetings even more at that time, you know. I had to go every day just to change where my head was. You know, it was so, you know, and like really I had to get up and I had to meditate, and then I had to go to a meeting just to be able to sort of stay on top of things in any sort of way. Well, I wasn't very much on top of anything. I was lying down an awful lot of the time, but, you know, and during that time, you know, it was till a couple of months ago, the last 12 months for me has just been so much about, you know, death, illness and loss, actually. And, you know, I lost 3 friends in the first 3 months of the year. And it was sort of like I was talking underwater to them, you know, like But quick sip of water, won't cry on stage. But anyway, and my brother, one of my brothers ended up with cancer, and, you know, it was just sort of like, oh my God, it's raining on me. Anyway, they told me that my treatment hadn't worked, and after 7 months they took me off it. And, you know, I was able then to go with my brother when he was having treatment, and that was actually a terrific thing. You know, like we hadn't spent any time together since we were in our teens, and we hadn't been all that friendly then either, because in my family you just had to be a bit careful, you know. Like, anyway, you know, so it was actually really good to spend that time with him. And then I guess I've since then, it's sort of like waking up from a long sleep and your brain's gone dead and physically you're not that great, and I've just had to really try and sort of bring myself back to life a bit, you know. And I have been doing that. It's also sort of given me a look at a few things that maybe I need to look at in my life, you know. My sort of default position when I'm off the air is sort of like nobody loves me, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I have to sort of, like, mostly I'm okay, you know, my self-esteem is really built up enough, but I guess it sort of taught me a few things to think, like, not everyone I know can deal with illness, you know. It taught me a few things that I need to sort of look at, and I don't know what the solution is to that, but I know it involves me sort of hanging in and coming to meetings and just trying to stay as open as I can, and doing a lot of that stuff and trying to overcome that part of me, you know, like at the end of this treatment, I'd done nothing for 7 months, but, you know, watch really bad television and read really crap crime books. And, you know, it's taken a while to sort of get out of that route. You know, I just sort of stuck there and needing to do something different, but not quite knowing how. And I've had to sort of, you know, let the television thing go. And because there's part of me, you know, like, I don't know, there's part of me. I stayed with my cousin recently who's quite crippled, you know, and I'm sort of using all the gadgets around her house and really enjoying them, you know. And, you know, like there's part of me that goes, oh, Zimmer frame, you know, like, or, gee, that coffin's looking really comfortable and quiet, you know, like, I've got to sort of, you know, not look at, you know, go beyond that and sort of get into life again. And, you know, I've spent so long now going, oh, God, it's nearly 9. See you later. I've got to be horizontal, you know. And, you know, not going anywhere and wrapping myself up in cotton wool, that I've gone too far, you know. I've been in survival mode for so long that I'm sort of been a little bit stuck there. And so that coming here and, you know, connecting with a few people has been really important to me to sort of get beyond that sort of survival mode and start getting a life back again, you know. I met up with a friend here who I met during the World Convention in Sydney, which I'm sure some NA historian will be able to tell me. I think it was about 1991, you know, and 91? And, you know, we've been friends since, and she lives in Hawaii, and we just had a really nice talk this morning, you know. We spent a couple of hours talking, and, you know, we worked out later she missed 5 calls on a mobile, and, you know, we didn't hear it. We reckon that was sort of God stuff, you know, like we just both needed to talk, and we did for a really long time, and it was just so good. And it gave me the sense of, you know, even though I know there's some stuff I have to work on, that it's okay, there's no panic, you know. Like, I just have to keep on in this sort of direction and it'll be okay, you know. I'll be, it'll be okay. So, I just know that I have trouble with crowds, you see. That's why I'm a bit nervous about World Conventions, because, you know, a lot of people sort of, you know, it's just sort of, I'm not good with it. But this one has been really quite easy. You know, there's been ways to get around the crowds and just sort of get out and have a bit of a breather when you need to. And with me, it's that question of balance again, working out when it's need and not avoidance, you know. And, you know, I went over to Europe for a family wedding recently, you know, and I was in Stockholm, which is just the most beautiful city. And it was my last night there, and I'm going, I better have an early night and, you know, read a good book, crime. You know, I suddenly thought, this is my last night in Stockholm. What am I doing? You know, so I rang up another member and went to a meeting and ended up having a really nice night, and really, you know, it didn't sort of doom my following day. You know, I can do a lot more than I think I can at times, you know, and I get into this, I got to look after myself, I got to be careful, and I go there too far, you know. I got to have a life as well, and, you know, it's that balance thing and trying to work out where it is, you know, and let's face it, better be tired for a day or two than, you know, have an incredibly quiet and boring life, you know. And I guess the stuff too now that I'm thinking about a lot, which is, do I really want to do this in my life? You know, like that whole experience on interferon, etc., that took up nearly a year of my life. And I don't regret it, but I think now really carefully about what I get involved in. I want it to be something that really adds to my life. And you know, I want it to be, you know, I don't want to be doing work or other stuff that just doesn't nurture me in any way at all, you know. I want to be getting something out of it. You know, who knows how long you're around, and I want to have as good a life as I can while I'm here, you know. So anyway, that's all for me, and thanks for listening.
Okay, it brings us nearly to the end, but I'm just going to ask Aloha, would you mind coming up here and reading Just for Today? Her name is Aloha. She's having a really hard time at this convention. Another friend of mine from Adelaide, Australia.
Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Alara and I'm an addict. Just for today, aloha. Tell yourself, just for today, my thoughts will be on my recovery, living, enjoying life without the use of drugs. Just for today, I will have faith in someone in NA who believes in me and wants to help me in my recovery. Just for today, I will have a program. I will try to follow it to the best of my ability. Just for today, through NA, I will try to get a better perspective on my life. Just for today, I will be unafraid. My thoughts will be on my new associations, people who are not using and who have found a new way of life. So long as I follow that way, I have nothing to fear.
Okay, thank you very much for having me in the chair. Can we please make a magic circle around the room and close the meeting with the third step prayer?
Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Please help us improve our ranking so others can find us by putting a review on Stitcher, iTunes, or your favorite podcast index. Napod is ad-free thanks to the folks supporting the show with $1 or more per month. If you enjoy listening, you can join them by going to napod.xyz and looking for the donate link. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.